Welcome to another edition of Tampa Bay Insiders, where we talk with the folks who are the movers and shakers in town, find out more about them than we'd ever know just watching meetings. And today we're very fortunate to have with us Commissioner Ken Hagan. Welcome, Ken. I'm so glad you could be here today with us.
Thank you, Louise. It's a pleasure to be here.
First off, I think people want to know more about your background than we know from seeing you. You're on the commission now since 2002?
Yes,
You're
ma'am.
there quite a while, so you know a lot of stuff that's going on in the county, and we want to hear all about that, but firstly, I want to hear about you. So are you from here, Ken?
Yes, I was born and raised here in Tampa, Florida, at St. Joseph's Hospital, in fact. And grew
Went
up...
to the schools here?
Yeah, I grew up, I'm a proud product of the public school system here. I grew up in the Carrollwood area and graduated from Chamberlain High School, and then went to the University of Florida, where I received a finance degree and was fortunate enough to play baseball.
That's your passion, huh? Or was your passion?
Well, it still is. Athlete at heart, still try and play every now and then when I get a chance, and I coach my son in Little League at the same park that my father coached me, and I really enjoy the game.
So you went to UF for finance, but ended up in politics. So I'm sure that's helpful, given that I think, what is your budget, like 500 pages or something? I don't know how anybody could get through that.
It's two big binders about that tall. I'm not quite sure how many pages it is, but it's very detailed and lengthy. And unfortunately, it's shrunk because of the economic and budgetary woes that we've experienced lately. We've gone from $4 billion down to $3 billion a year, but it's still quite detailed and lengthy.
Did you think when you were playing ball over at the University of Florida that you would go into the major leagues? Or is that
my goal?
That
I used to tell all my friends growing up that I was going to play second base for the Yankees, and I was a very good hitter, and candidly, in my senior year here at Chamberlain, I was second in the county in hitting. A man by the name of Tino Martinez was number one, who went on and I think hit 400 home runs in the major leagues. I was number two.
Wow.
A future Hall of Famer, Gary Sheffield, was number three. And Luis Gonzalez and Derek Bell were right behind them. So of the top five, only one of us didn't make it, and that just happened to be me. But I could hit with all of them, but I didn't have.
But you came close, though.
I didn't have the rest of the game, but I definitely enjoyed it.
So what field did you go into when you got out of UF? Did you come back to Tampa then?
Came back to Tampa, started working on my MBA degree from the University of Tampa, and began work in the insurance industry, where I worked for about 5 years, and enjoyed that. Gained a lot of managerial experience, and then after that went to work for an accounting or consulting firm called KPMG. It's one of the largest firms in the world, and got some excellent business development experience working for them.
KPMG, did they get bought by one of the other big ones? Or
No, they used to be called Pete Marwick back years ago, and now they're just referred as KPMG. And if you watch golf or some other sports, you'll still see their logo.
They're the sponsors, huh?
So, yes, still a sponsor.
Okay, so you were over there, and something that was up until 2002 or one or somewhere in that area?
I left in 2001.
Okay. And then you made a run for our county commission. Pretty young guy too at that.
You know, it's interesting. I've never researched it, but I've been told that I was the third youngest person to ever be elected to the county commission.
Somewhere after Pam Iorio.
Pam Iorio, I think, is the youngest, and then I think Ed Taranchek.
Really?
At least that's what I've been told. I don't know if that's true or not, but I was, I think, 33, and then just turned 34 when I was elected. And
what made you want to go there instead of, say, stick with these the big three or whatever they call themselves, the consulting firms or other financial things? Or certainly we've had a bunch of insurance companies come into town.
Honestly, growing up, in my family, politics, government, really was very rarely, if ever, discussed. And when I was in college, I was not involved in student government, or I guess it's Blue Key at University of Florida, what it's called. I never participated in that. It really wasn't a priority. I got out of school, started working, and I've always loved Tampa, Hillsborough County. I've always been an advocate and a proponent for our town, our community. And really it was the 2000 presidential election, Bush, Gore, how close it was, all the fighting and lawsuits going back and forth, that really got the juices flowing, if you will, and really
Oh my goodness, any Floridian that didn't have those juices flowing.
Well, it made me interested in getting involved in some capacity.
Okay.
And because I had never participated in the political arena other than voting, I really didn't know about the county commission. I didn't know city council, the state legislature. So I started really in probably January of '01, just starting to talk to different people and getting feedback on what's out there, what are the opportunities, do I have a chance for something like this? And the conventional wisdom for the political insiders or people that participate, they didn't think I really had much of a chance because I had never been engaged in the arena. But what I knew that I had going for me is that I'm a fourth generation Hillsborough County native, and we have vast roots in Hillsborough County, not in the political game, but just as a citizen and just the long-standing history. And I just got channeled into the county commission because it was going to be an open seat. I didn't have to challenge an incumbent in order to win. So that's how I kind of got channeled.
Who had that seat before you?
Jim Norman.
Oh, Jim had that seat, and then he switched.
He was termed out and was running for a countywide seat.
Right.
And I knew it was going to be a challenging exercise. A number of people were running for it, and others that had been involved in government and in the political scene before. So I knew it was going to be challenging, but I promised my wife that that if she let me quit my job and campaign full-time for a year, I promised her that we'd win, but she'd have to carry the load there for a year. And what was even bigger challenge is that our son, our first child, was born in March, just 4 or 5 months before the first primary. So we had a lot going on in that time.
Oh my goodness.
But I had faith, and we worked. We simply just outworked everyone. We certainly didn't outraise the other candidates because we weren't considered the favorite. So I didn't raise a whole lot of money my first time, but we just.
And that's a
outworked
pretty
them.
big district, isn't it?
It's geographically very large. When you look at.
Because that goes from like what, Waters up?
Or it's line ball up, but you've got, and we were districting right now, so it's changed a little bit, but at the time, West Chase, Keystone, Carrollwood, Lutz, New Tampa, Seffner, Mango, Temple Terrace, very geographically wide and diverse district at that.
Yeah, Carrollwood and Mango. It doesn't even seem like there would be any similarity in the demographic or I don't know, the interest, because it's more agricultural out there, is it not?
It's very diverse, and we tried to change that somewhat when we went through districting a few months ago, and hopefully we tightened up the districts a little bit better.
So you went through how many elections from that district? That's District which?
District 2, I won a 2-year seat in 2002, and then I ran for re-election in '04. I only had a 2-year seat at that time, and then I got re-elected again in 2008. So I had 3 elections for District 2, and then I gave up in 2010. I ran for a countywide seat, but I actually gave up 2 years on my seat because I had until 2012 to serve, but I really wanted to serve in an at-large or countywide capacity. I think it allows me to do more broad policy issues, and so I gave up 2 years. And in local government,
That's a gamble.
yeah, if you lose, you're out. I mean, there's no going back.
And the county's awfully big.
So it's
to try to do the whole thing.
It's over 1,000 square miles and 1.2 million people, and more people vote in Hillsborough County than in many states.
Is that
And
right?
so, absolutely, and it's a challenging exercise. I didn't really, as big as my district was, I didn't realize how challenging it was going to be to run countywide, and
That's a lot of mileage on a car, too.
a lot of mileage and
I mean, if you go to all those events and all those groundbreakings, hither and don, I mean, you're at Jan, you're like everywhere.
Well,
It's
there'll
a
be 3 or
big
4
area.
scheduled a night or an afternoon, and you try and go to as many as you can. But when you run for a countywide seat, you've got to have a significant amount of resources and volunteers, and certainly money. I mean, it's in many ways it's sad the influence of money and what it costs to run, even on local races like mine. But you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. And
You've served on a lot of committees since you've been there, then for the last, is it 9 years, I guess, 9 years? They run the gamut, correct? Like sports and emergency and policy making in different ways. I'm not sure what they all are.
There's
so
people
many
people
committees.
ask me all the time, is the county commission a full-time job? And I say without a doubt, because not only do we have the regular meetings that we have on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, but in addition, we have to sit on anywhere between 8 and 10 or 12 additional boards, which take up a significant amount of your time. And I've served, the boards that I'm passionate about, are Sports Authority, which I serve on now, Convention and Visitors Bureau, which I've done a lot of work with them, T-BARTA, which is the Regional Transportation Authority, PTC, Public Transportation Commission, Florida Association of Counties. There's a number of boards through the years that I've served on, and it keeps you busy.
I'll say, so that you could be doing how many meetings a month, let's say, on average? Just a lot. Or can you even keep track of that?
It's a challenging exercise, particularly if you're also campaigning, which thankfully I'm not right now. And
Is this a 4-year now?
This is a 4-year term.
That's very confusing to people. Some of the seats are 2 years for whatever reason. Was it because they didn't want everybody to come off at the same
Well,
time?
the charter intentionally staggers the districts, so not everyone is up at the same time. However, every 10 years, we go through redistricting based on the updates in the charter and the census. And when you go through that process, nearly everyone is up. So this time around, I'm the only commissioner that's not running for election or re-election in 2012.
So you could take a little rest.
So I'm taking a little rest.
Yeah, that would be good, because I think that must be the most difficult thing in the world, because it's not necessarily the same kind of person who wants to serve, who can raise money and run around and doesn't have a family as you do, and difficult to have to juggle all those things at one time.
And coaching Little League Baseball and things like that.
And doing the other thing. What do you think, in retrospect, since you've been on there for 9 years, are there any major things that you think Hillsborough County has, achieved? I know we're in bad economic times right now, but during that period of time, are you personally that you have, I don't know, you feel more proud about doing while you've been there?
There are a number of initiatives and I don't want to say accomplishments, but things that the county has achieved, things that personally that I've been able to champion that I'm very proud of. The county, for instance, what most people don't realize is that we're keenly aware of the troubled financial markets and the economic recession. We're not immune from that. But what I'm very proud of, that in light of all of this, we are among a select group of counties that has a AAA credit rating from all 3 credit agencies. Us and Palm Beach are the only 2 in Florida, and there's about 25 in the nation that has that. Our credit rating is higher than the United States government right now, to put that in perspective.
Yeah, right.
So they've recently been downgraded. So we're very proud of that, and that very rarely, or if ever, gets printed. And that's because of the conservative financial positions that we've taken. And our budget, we've made the difficult decision. We've reduced our budget over $1 billion over the last few years, but we haven't rated reserves to do so, unlike many other governments, unlike the state government and the credit agencies. They frown on that. They punish you with downgraded ratings, and it ultimately costs the taxpayers additional interest and debt costs because of that. So that's
I
one
think a
area.
lot of people don't understand that. That's maybe why it doesn't get picked up as much. But those things are the same as your credit rating with your credit card. If
Sure.
you have a good credit rating, you can take out a mortgage at a lesser
Right.
interest rate than you can otherwise, and you can also, get a car loan for less money. So that's why it's so important that you maintain that higher credit rating. So that's a proud moment. Other things, brought
Couple
home
of
another Super Bowl or so in those last 9 years, right? You almost
Now,
got
a couple
this
of
one,
Super
too.
Bowls. I think the fix was in why we didn't receive the 2015.
Darn. Was that Arizona? Was it
Arizona won it.
Got it?
2016 is scheduled to hasn't been approved, but everyone knows that it's going to go to Los Angeles, and we feel very good about our chances on 2017. But the county, the city, we're very proud that.
You had as many, my goodness.
I know
That's almost a record, is it not?
We've had many, and I can tell you one thing about our Convention and Visitors Bureau folks. Whether it's a small convention or whether it's a Super Bowl, their attention to detail is phenomenal. They roll out the red carpet and do not leave any detail unturned, any rock unturned. They work extremely hard, and that's why we've had so many big conventions, so many big events. The biggest being next year, the 2012 Republican National Convention.
I didn't realize that would be bigger than a Super Bowl.
It's much bigger than the Super Bowl.
Why is it much? I don't know why. It seems like, because I guess we're just familiar with all the attention that's been paid to the Super Bowl as such a big deal for us, but it's not as big a deal as this.
It is the first convention in the state of Florida since 1972. It's a historic moment for the community, irrespective of if you're Republican, Democrat, Independent. The economic benefits are significant. I mean, I'm a Republican, but I would fight just as hard for the DNC to come here as the RNC. You're talking about over 50,000 room nights, 3,000 jobs, close to $200 million in direct spending, not even to mention the indirect spending and the indirect coverage that we'll receive from all the TV networks. You're talking about $100 million in wages, just a very significant economic impact that we're going to have here.
And very needed now, right this minute.
And the best part of it is, it comes during a time where we're very slow in the August-September range. Is our lowest point of the year for our tourism folks. So it's coming right at the right time of the year and at the right time to help us economically.
And speaking of that, there's a lot of work being done with not just bringing in these conventions, which that was a really big deal, that is coming, but also there's a lot of money being expended or incentives being provided for businesses to come into Hillsborough too, right?
Absolutely, and that's something that, on a personal note, that I'm very proud of, in that last year I proposed and championed a property tax exemption program that the commission put on the ballot. It received about 65% of the vote in November. Mayor Iorio followed and championed it at the city. The city council put it on the ballot. It passed overwhelmingly with city voters this spring. And what it does is it encourages local businesses that want to expand, and it also helps new businesses that are considering relocating to come to Tampa or to Hillsborough County by offering to either lower or eliminate property taxes for up to 10 years, depending on the industry and the number of jobs that are going to be created. So what we've really tried to do for the last several years is to create a landscape and environment that encourages business development, that encourages job creation. And the frequent complaint that I had always heard from folks, business owners, is that all the incentives that you offer are typically only to new businesses that you're trying to recruit from out of town. And the beauty of this program is that it helps our local businesses, which create approximately 80% of the jobs. So it offers them an incentive to expand. And then we also we worked on this past year, a small business program in addition to that for companies with 10 or less employees, that we will give them a wage reimbursement for new hires up to 3 months. So again, it gives them an opportunity to free up capital
few
and to
dollars,
hopefully
it
go
all
out and hire new employees. So we're doing everything we can to incentivize businesses, local businesses and new businesses, to come to Tampa and Hillsborough County.
My understanding, I've been here, I guess, somewhat over 30 years now. Our area has been, in Florida mainly, has been like dependent on development mostly. Although Hillsborough County, like you said, is such a diverse area. I mean, we've had a lot of development in our county over these last 3 decades that I know, but you also have your farming and agricultural community. With these kinds of programs like the incentives, are we targeting, I don't know, different kinds of clean energy or this kind of thing, or is that across the board we want to bring in whatever businesses we can? I know when I used to be on the chamber board, I was on the board of trustees of the chamber years ago, there was, efforts to bring in clean industry, well, originally call centers, just to get small-time jobs in, because we needed to employ some of the less skilled people. But then as it grew, it started to want to bring in more skilled or jobs that paid well.
Right. It's a little of both.
Okay.
Going back, you mentioned call centers.
Yeah.
Back then, the acronym was FIRE, Finance, Insurance, and Real Estate. Those were the markets that the chamber folks and economic development folks targeted. And over the last, I'd say, decade or maybe a little bit less than that, we've really tried to expand that into many other fields. Biotech and bioscience.
Right.
We've established 2 significant partnerships with Merck and Moffitt at USF, with Draper Labs, and we really feel that the synergies created by these partnerships can change the job opportunities landscape for generations. So a big project that Hillsborough County is working on, I'm working on now, is to try and create a research park that we can leverage our partnerships with USF, with the incubator at USF, with Draper Labs, with Merck and Moffitt, not only for research, but for the commercialization aspect of it that will really explode. So that's one area I'm proud of, that we're working hard. We included in this year's budget additional incentives in agriculture, because as you stated, that is a major economic driver in our community.
Best strawberries and tomatoes in the country, I'm sure.
Without a doubt. Tourism. This year, I brought to our board an additional $1.5 million to help. It used to be called Convention Visitors Bureau, now it's Tampa Bay and Company.
Right.
To go there. Part of that is $500,000. A goal of mine is to recreate a film commission. We used to have a film commission here. It really doesn't exist. So I have $500,000 in our budget that we're going to be working on reestablishing that and trying to work with Tallahassee and the state, because they have incentive programs there. That's an industry we want to move. We want to move toward.
That needs some help. That needs some serious work, because I've been sitting on those committees as somebody running the Community Access Center, because we do want to bring commercial and film and so forth, and we are training the people that go in that industry. That's why I think one of the reasons the state should be supporting the access centers, because we train the people that these out-of-towners would need to do commercials and so forth. But they've made the incentive program where you have to spend way too much money in order to get reimbursement or something. Right. I think they have to fix that. We're running out of time, and I want to make sure that I ask you about where viewers can get involved. That's one thing. And the second thing is, are there areas that we should be more focused on in the future, for the future of our county at least?
I tell you what really inspires me is I go from time to time to, and I'll teach or I'll read at schools, and I'll see kids in grade school that they have mock elections every election year, and people are getting engaged and involved in the government and the political arena at such a much younger age, at least than I did. And so I encourage folks, whether you're in your 40s, 30s, 20s, or teens, to get involved in some capacity, whether it's just volunteering in an election, helping out the candidate of your choice, party of your choice, but getting involved. You'll see how motivating and inspiring it really is, and how much you can learn. For me, being a competitor, it reestablished or replaced that competitive spirit I had on the baseball field. But in politics, getting involved in a campaign, that, and just serving on a board or a task force, that the county has hundreds, and the city does as well, hundreds of boards and committees and task force that you can serve on the area of your choice, whether it's children, sports, the economy. It doesn't matter. We have plumbing boards. We have boards of any type of industry. And I would just encourage anyone to get involved, whether it's on the campaign side or the government side, and you'll see how rewarding it really is to get involved.
And it's a lot better probably to get involved before you're mad at the school board or the neighborhood pothole that hasn't been fixed, or the whatever it is, right? Because that's really, all those little details are being taken care of by our elected officials. They're going to have to do something. So in the meantime, that's all good encouragement for people. Do you see us looking at, specific things besides economic development, or is that where the focus is going to be in the next little while at least?
I think if you ask any elected official, from President Obama down to your local city council person or county commissioner, they're gonna say the economy, and the economy, and the economy. The one other area I'll tell you that I'm focused on, I know Mayor Buckhorn is interested in pursuing at the right time, the possibility of bringing the Tampa Bay Rays over to Tampa. That's something that I want to see happen. I'm going to work very hard on that.
I deny that.
And I feel pretty good about it when the time is right.
Well, that would be amazing if we end up with all these teams over here.
When you talk about urban revitalization, I mean, I like it not only from the sports aspect, but from an economic and quality of life perspective is why I want to see it happen. If that were to come downtown, Channel Side, some of that, you talk about urban revitalization, it would just do wonders for our community. So that's one thing hopefully we can look forward to down the road.
Great. I appreciate your being here. Time's run out, and wish we could talk even longer and pick your brain about a lot more things. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Louise. I enjoyed being here.
Appreciate it, and we'll see you all next time.